Welcome to the 2026 Campaign Spark Awards.
Our first honoree of the night, a very special one, is Gabby Idem, creative producer, New Motion.
Our next honoree is Amanda Portis, senior strategist at Media Hub.
Devontae Anthony, junior art director of McKinney.
We were really blown away by what your managers, your peers, your colleagues had to say about the incredible work you're doing.
Our next honoree is Liv Johnston, Senior Art Director, BBH USA.
Jens Olsen Kikuchi, Senior Editor of FIG.
Lauren Disman, Senior Strategist, Barclay OKRP.
We saw a range of entries that stemmed from creatives first breaking into the industry to these longtime professionals who ventured out of their comfort zones to excel in other parts of the industry.
Megan Perona, new business and marketing manager at High Dive.
So we see that the future of the marketing and ad industry is in the hands of true innovators who have the curiosity, perseverance, and talent to advance us to the next level. Our final honoree tonight.
Who are the newest marketers changing the game, and what do they have to say about the industry? Last week, we got to ring in our first Campaign Spark Awards, an initiative to spotlight emerging marketers who demonstrate creativity, agility, and new perspectives. From scripting segments of NBC's Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary special to writing and art directing Nickelodeon's Emmy-winning 2023 rebrand spot, Spark 2026 honorees show promise of sparking industry change. We got to chat with a select few of Campaign's 20 Spark honorees at our annual Convene conference. Moderated by Julia Walker, this discussion with Devontae Anthony from McKinney, Lauren Disman from Barclay OKRP, and Amanda Cornell from Ally Financial gives us a look at the inspirations, challenges, and goals behind their early marketing milestones. I'm Luz Corona, and this is a special edition of Campaign Chemistry.
What's up, everybody? See, I knew y'all were stiff after the first couple panels I watched, but we're going to change that. My name is Devontae Anthony, and I am a junior art director at McKinney.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Cornell. I'm a marketing manager at Ally Bank, and I'm really excited to be here.
Hey everyone, so happy to be here. My name's Lauren Dismond. I'm a senior strategist at Barclay OKRP and really excited to dig into all of our awesome work today with you guys.
Awesome. Okay, so my first question for all three of you, and we'll start in the same order. What sparks your passion for marketing?
I hate that I have to go first because it's really like a loaded question, but I'll tell you guys a story. So when I grew up, I always got in the habit of doing things that I saw worked. So one day I went to school. Before I went to school, I went in my dad's closet and I grabbed some of his cologne. He was wearing like this Dolce & Gabbana and it smelled really good on him. So I was like, I'm going to put that on myself. So give me a hug real quick.
You smell so good.
People tell me that all the time. So I realized that was a way that I could market myself. And I started doing that at a really early age. Another example, everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. I'm going to keep saying it until everybody stands up. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, sit down. And you're wondering, why did I stand up? I don't know. It's just anytime I said something around my friends, it worked. They did it. They fell in love with it. They believed it. And so over time, like through college and undergrad, I got in the habit of marketing without even trying and found a way to make a career out of it.
I love that. I'm re-energized now from standing up, so thank you so much. Marketing is so interesting. I was talking with some people earlier at a table of, it almost seems easy, right? Like we're all consumers. We have current states. We have a problem or a need or a want. And I'm just a really naturally curious person. And I wanted to solve problems. And I said, everyone around me has a problem. It goes across every industry, every phase of life. And so me as the curious Sagittarius, you heard Amanda say it earlier, us, Amanda Sagittarius. So curious, wanting to solve problems, really creative. I think early on I had both this analytical half of me and this creative side of me. So the right brain and the left brain, both super active. And so marketing really seemed like the only path for me to be able to flex both sides of my brain. And I'm happy of all of the opportunities I've had to do that so far.
100%. And I'll have to say, I feel like my trajectory really mirrors yours. As a strategist, I mean, the first thing about myself, since I could go back to forever, is that I'm just a naturally curious person. I like understanding people, the world around me in a way that is beyond the surface. And I think marketing is a really interesting way to do that. It's left brain and right brain. It's a mix of business. I like math and getting into the nitty gritty of like Excel sheets and rows of data, but I also am really creative and I'm obsessed with culture. So it's just like a nice way to marry all of those three things. And I'm like, wow, you can actually turn this into a job. So that was kind of where I started. And my background is in the journalism school. I loved broadcasting, creating feature stories. So strategy is just a nice way to continue to do that storytelling in a really tangible way. And yeah, get to know people and problems in a way that just understands the world around us a little bit more deeply.
And Lauren, your colleagues describe you as a culture queen and audience insight machine. How did you leverage your love for culture and marketing psychology to pivot Red Lobster's marketing approach from promotional to cultural?
Yeah, 100%. So when I joined Red Lobster, they were deep in the promo cycle. So we have the ones that people know and love, like Lobster Fest and Crab Fest. It comes around every time of year, incredibly inspected. And then we have the category that me and my coworkers sometimes joke is like 3 shrimp on a plate with new said promo platform. And when I joined Red Lobster, I'm like, there's something bigger here. I mean, I'm going back to my childhood and I was shoving Cheddar Bay biscuits down my throat at the age of 5. And we were featured in a Beyonce song and Kim Kardashian came to our restaurant after passing the baby bar. Like there's got to be something bigger or like cooler we can do here. So the promo strategy Red Lobster was working with was doing the transaction work of it. They were trying to drive transactions. But the real opportunity was trying to build that cultural relevance. And not only that, just a better, stronger brand affinity for the brand. And so to take that on, I'll borrow your left brain, right brain approach, or I also kind of like to think about it as like the science and the art of strategy. And I started just by getting really tight on the science. So like I said, I'm the nerd who loves going through the syndicated research tools. I love Mintel and MRI and YouGov and all the things. So I just started there and tried to see who was coming to our restaurants. I also started looking at the economy, how that's shaping the middle class, and that has such an impact on who's going to be coming to those full service restaurant chains. I saw who was over-indexing on Red Lobster and just started to create a deck of a lot of research. Being early in our career, a lot of times having that hard data allows us to get into the room and get people to really buy into your ideas. So that was kind of step one. So me and my manager had built this lengthy deck and we were like, all right, we assume we'll be able to take this into like maybe an annual planning meeting. Maybe we'll use it to like arm ourselves in the upcoming campaigns to get a little bit more culture forward. That did not happen. Red Lobster declared bankruptcy instead. So they beat us to the punch a little bit and we were able to take that data and move really fast and instead start to lean on our left brain, the art of strategy a little bit more. So we had the who. We knew Black guests were 7 times more likely to come to Red Lobster, more than any other race. We also knew just how things were going economically. We knew we needed to like make some changes. Seafood is just a higher cost good regardless. So we needed to do a little bit of digging of like, how are we actually going to get people into restaurants? And bankruptcy was terrifying. It was scary. It was a big task to fill of like, all right, what do we do next? But the beautiful thing was our audience was telling us. That was when we were able to lean on those gut instincts, those moments where like, this just makes sense. People are kind of telling us what they want to see. And so how can we turn that into campaign that, you know, C-suite board members, the powerful hands that be will sign off on and say, all right, let's take this and let's save the business, so to say. So we used all of that to create Real Talk, Real Change. Real Talk came from everything we had learned about our audience, all of the comments they've left from us, from major celebrities to people in the back of house to consumers who hadn't visited us in 10 years or consumers who were like super fans, like, please do not let Red Lobster die. And we took those things, launched a campaign that featured our CEO, Demola, who was well loved on the internet, and did a bunch of research in terms of what people actually wanted to hear from us, what kind of proof they wanted to see, and really sold it home with seafood boils, which I feel like was super art side of marketing of like, it's highly visual. It's super engaging to eat. It's incredibly ownable for Red Lobster when we're thinking about the category of full service restaurants. It's seafood forward and it's not something that's easily copyable. So we used that to launch and ended up having the most successful product launch and just simply brand turnaround that the restaurant had ever seen. Over 40% increase in traffic that was pretty much sustained throughout the promo, and over 60% increase in sales, which also was sustained consistently throughout the promotion period. So a new day at Red Lobster and a new way of doing business that's not so promo first and more culture and consumer first, which is right up my alley.
And you won your first Effie, right?
Yes, I did win.
Round of applause.
Yeah, I won my first Effie with Red Lobster. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And next for Devontae, you won the Delta Airlines brief competition at the One Club's Where Are All the Black People in New York City conference. Can you tell us a little bit about your creative approach and why it worked for Delta?
So, yeah, everything she said was true. I did win that award, and I had no idea I was going to win it. I went out there and I was just like, I'm going to be one of, I don't know, 1,500 people that applied for it. Some people did it in teams. Like they had a copywriter, art director, strategist. It was like 6 people to a team. And, yeah, I just thought for sure I'm not going to win. But the brief was basically Delta wanted to know how they can do more within the Black community. And I thought to myself, I like Delta Airlines. The music is fun. It's fine. And it's fun when you get on the plane. The vibes are cool. I always fly Comfort Plus if I can. And if McKinney's booking a flight, I'm flying first class. So I got real comfortable with Delta. So I was pretty familiar with the brand. But what I felt like they didn't have was who in here has made chicken before? Some people stick to just salt and pepper, but I like to add a little Creole, a little seasoning to it. So I figured if we could do that on an airline and not just in the way of, getting Black chefs, which was a part of the pitch that I have for them, I'll tell you the idea in short. I positioned Delta as a nonstop connection for the culture. So they wanted to know what communities they can partner with within the Black community. So I was like, well, we'll send you guys to Essence Fest, right? Everyone's heard of Essence Fest, right? So when you're going to Essence Fest, within this brief or this idea that I came up with, you will get on a Delta Airlines plane and you'll be greeted by a Black pilot. You'll hear some Black music as you're getting on the plane. The food that you'll enjoy if you're coming from the West Coast will be curated West Coast, East Coast, any coast. It'll be made by a Black chef. So it's really just, as soon as you get on the plane, you're getting the vibes and you're just feeling the love, and they really loved it. I don't know how they bought into it the way that they did. I'm so glad that they did, but that was the big idea with Delta. And that door, being able to go through that door opened another door for me to go to Cannes, France as an ambassador at the International Festival of Creativity last year. And I got to be on a panel out there and got to meet some more Delta people. So.
And what did they say to you about your pitch when you met them in person? Did you talk about it?
Oh my goodness. They said a lot of things. And I promise you, if you've ever been to the International Festival of Creativity, you know that you're going to meet so many people. So I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember everything.
You were invited back, right?
Yes, I was invited back. So I am so many things happening off of one brief. I will say this: if I could give you all any advice, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And that was a shot that I took. Not only did I win the competition, I got 5 G's and Delta dollars. So imagine, and I still got some left. Okay. So yeah, it was just really, really cool. But I wanted to say this to go back to something earlier, so not to go back to the beginning, but I came into advertising in the most nonlinear way. When I graduated from college, by the way, I applied to 40 schools, got into all 40 of them, and I decided to go to the only school that didn't give me a single dollar, and that was UNC Chapel Hill. And I did that because I wanted to prove a point. I felt like if I apply to all these schools, somebody's surely going to give me something, and like everybody should try to give me something. Like that was just my mindset. I believe that I'm the best and nobody can be better than me in terms of working hard. And that was what I really put into my applications. UNC doesn't give me a dime. I work hard my first semester. Somehow, some way, I get on a full ride. I graduate from UNC Chapel Hill, and I'm applying to jobs like everybody does when they graduate from college or they're entering their senior semester. And I got multiple job offers, but McKinney was the agency that was like, you know what, we're going to give you this internship. And I'm like, internship? I need a full-time job. And so I told them respectfully, I have full-time job offers. They were like, well, we'll bet on you and we'll make you a project coordinator. So that was my gateway into advertising and into marketing, was that I became a project coordinator. Didn't know much about project management at all. Was probably one of the worst project managers, but I had the personality, the curiosity that said, let me show up every day the best way that I can. You're not going to be able to give 100% every day to any of the jobs. I'm sure people in this room right now have worked jobs for like 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, some people even longer. Claps and hats off to you. But even in those tenures, you're not able to give 100% every day. But you have to commit to, me and my brother Josh were just talking about this. If you can give, if 2% is all you have, give 100% of that 2%. And so that's what I did. So they let me come into the agency as a project coordinator. I quit in December to go to LA to be on MasterChef, got COVID in February. So I had to come back home. The director of recruiting found out that I was back, and she was like, do you want to come back to the agency? And I was like, yeah, but I don't want to be a project coordinator. And she was like, well, we'll get you into EDIB. So I started a whole new role at the same agency. They brought me back. I did EDIB coordinating for a year or for 3 months. And they were like, Devontae, you're doing so good, but you're not being an EDIB coordinator. You're being a content creator. So then they made me a content creator at the same agency. And I did that for 2 years. And now I'm a junior art director, and I've been a junior art director since January of this year. And the plan isn't just to stay there. I just wanted to motivate you guys in this room to always aspire to inspire before you expire, and see what doors that opens for you.
True. Thank you. Moving on to Amanda. As an emerging marketer, why was it important for you to spotlight emerging entrepreneurs when working with the Jennifer Hudson Show? Can you tell us about the project?
J Hud.
Yes, in as much detail as Devontae gave for his project, and tell us why you chose to do that.
Yeah, so at Ally Bank, we're super proud of our Moguls in the Making program. And it's a really awesome program where we feature students from HBCUs, and they enter into a pitch competition, usually based in Detroit, and it's all about economic mobility. So as a financial services brand, we always say, like, deeds, good deeds, good words, so we're making sure that we're supporting the next generation of students who are entering the workforce, and around a really, really important topic, and something that the brand and I personally am passionate about, is that community empowerment and economic mobility. So this year for Moguls in the Making, that took place in Detroit, I was part of our strategic media planning team at the time, and found an opportunity and a lot of synergy with the Jennifer Hudson Show. And so if you know anything about this show, they love storytelling. They love this authenticity and these voices of these students. And so worked through sort of soup to nuts, the end-to-end plan of what do we even do with the Jennifer Hudson Show? We know that there's something there. I think panels earlier today really highlighted taking the time to find that synergy. So this was a very long process, from creative, from media, from content, working with talent, working with students, all the way to legal compliance, the governance around what we're allowed to say, what we're not allowed to say. And so it was a really, really proud moment. And I think what made it really special was that synergy and that authenticity of the stories of these students. They are so talented, and the pitches that they were coming up with for solutions in Detroit for economic mobility, it was amazing. They got to partner with real life professionals in different industries across transportation and healthcare and communications, and really in just a few days come up with these brilliant pitches. And we were able to surprise them with the Jennifer Hudson show, and they were featured on a segment that was so special. And making sure that this story was shared and amplified was really my goal and my job. So we had social campaigns, we had additional email newsletters that we worked with the Jennifer Hudson show on. So making sure that not only was it a good idea, but it really came to life and was able to make the next group of moguls even more excited to be part of that program, because it is so special to Ally.
Awesome. It's so inspiring for me to hear all of your work that you guys have been doing and how much passion I can hear in your voices about it. So thank you for sharing your special projects with us. I have a few questions now for all three of you. We can start with Devonta and work our way down as I ask. But the first one for the three of you guys is, what challenge do emerging marketers face that is specific to right now?
I think the biggest challenge that marketers face that is specific to right now dates years ago, dates many years actually, and that's imposter syndrome. As a creative, you're in a creative and collaborative environment all of the time, and so sometimes you'll have these really big brain ideas and someone else has a really big brain idea, and you're in a room with a bunch of people that have really big brain ideas that can kind of make you wash yourself it's like you're in a washing machine, literally, with other creatives. And I feel like it's easier to drown yourself out. And if you put a red sock in a bunch of white clothes, then they're gonna they're all gonna turn pink. And I think that's what happens sometimes as a creative, is I find that I'm drowning among my peers, and I kind of feel like I'm imposing. I'm not going to get emotional, guys. But yeah, I think imposter syndrome is probably the biggest thing, and it's one of the biggest challenges. But if you believe in yourself, you will always, and believe in yourself, and not just yourself, but believe in your ideas, they will always, like, your gift will always make room for you. And that is how I overcome imposter syndrome. I'm Devonta. I don't know how to show up as anybody else but Devonta, and Devonta is received well. And I try to remember that. And that's how I overcome that imposter syndrome.
Awesome. What about you, Amanda?
Yeah, I've had a really unique path at Ally, and I'm super fortunate. We like to call it the squiggly path. I don't know if anyone else's HR departments use that term, but it's worked for us. And so they really encourage this squiggly path. But a challenge I realized was when I first entered on our advertising team, I was an individual contributor, writing briefs, taking creative through the pipeline and approval process. And I had the opportunity to make a lateral move to our strategic media planning team, where I'm now a consultant and I have this reputation that I'm going to, be a subject matter expert. And it's a really big shift. It's a shift from being just responsible for your work to really influencing teams, ideas, and projects around you. And so that was a challenge for me personally, but honestly, the most rewarding year of my career so far, in having that challenge, that struggle, and feeling that growth when you do objectives at the beginning of the year and then you do your end of year evaluation. It was the first time I really felt like, wow, I've grown. But it's a challenge to go from this individual contributor responsibility and mindset to making that shift to a consultant-like role. So, being aware of that shift for emerging talent, and that it's challenging, and how can you help your up and coming talent through that transition so that it benefits the whole company?
What about you?
Yeah, when I think about right now, I think the most prominent thing, especially when I hear new grads, especially in the strategy space, is around AI. It's so helpful, but I also think it's a little bit intimidating in the way that it really speeds up the process of a lot of the work that we tend to do from a day to day. So when I first started my job, AI, ChatGPT, that wasn't really necessarily a thing. All of the tools and subscriptions that we have now wasn't necessarily a huge thing. And I remember my first audit, I'm like, okay, I'm going to need like 4 weeks to knock this out. I have to go through all of Planet Fitness's competitors and see what they're doing and all of their channels and then their earnings statements. And it was like so much. And I was doing that for, I think, 2 others. And I'm like, I'm maxed out on audits. My days are spent combing through TikTok and writing all the paragraphs by hand, and then AI and more tools came available, and I was able to kind of knock that out really quickly. For me, I kind of took that and was like, okay, who else needs an audit? What other brands am I passionate about at the agency? And how can I kind of do more audits and more things for them? And then I also had to kind of learn how to use the tool in a way that's effective. I mean, AI is not going to replace our ability to think as humans, especially for strategists. Like my sharpest ability is being able to creatively problem solve and see people beyond what they might give me at the surface level or what I might find in a survey. So being able to use AI to be speedier, be an expert on more things faster, on more accounts that I wanted to work on shamelessly, and kind of be that person in the room, and then use my own, nobody can really replicate my implications. AI isn't able to understand what's happening in the room, what my creative teams need. So being able to develop my own implications and takeaways and insights and bringing all of the research that I was able to do in a very quick timeline, and make it really hyper relevant for our teams and for our clients. And it also made me like an important person to have. I'm like, if someone's referencing something in a meeting and it's like, ooh, what was that campaign that competitor did? I was always like, ooh, I know, I can recall, because I had worked on so many of those things. So I think a challenge is definitely feeling a little bit like we're replaceable. We see all of the headlines and the news about how they're starting to like cannibalize some of those early entry jobs, but being able to speak to, okay, here's how I can actually leverage that, and here's what I can do to bring it to the next level. And I also think that process and that skill set of like, okay, fine, I'll go ahead and offload those rows of Excel sheets that used to take me hours and hours to get through to one of our tools, and instead spend that same amount of time developing insights, taking a first stab at a creative brief that maybe I wasn't asked to do. And suddenly I had a whole like resume of briefs and insights and implications I had brought to creative teams, social leads, all the way up to C-suite leaders. And it helped me move up in my organization and flex a different muscle I wouldn't have necessarily had the time to flex if I was still knee deep in audits and Excel sheets and research. So yeah, that I think is a big challenge, but also I think a really big opportunity for strategists, especially and all marketers, to flex a new skill and stretch themselves of how to use it for the best way for their team and their accounts.
Can I say something else?
Sure.
You said something about like being like replaced. So that made me think about one of the things that I focused on last year for the entire year, because for much of my career before I got onto clients now as a junior art director, I was extremely unbillable. Like I was overhead for the agency for for 3 years. And so I had to think about ways and get really creative and figure out, okay, I'm unbillable. How can I become indispensable? And in doing that, it made me more curious. I had to ask more questions. Being in the rooms with senior leaders and executives, the CEO of the company, asking questions in front of them and positioning myself as a curious individual, not just because I want to be a pick-me or because I want them to see me, but because I genuinely want to know how I can grow myself and my brand here, but how I can support the company in its growth as well. So I got really curious. I got really humble. I don't think I know everything. I'm not a know-it-all. So again, it made me curious to ask more questions, and then being courageous, like speaking up. And so I think if that is a challenge for anyone in this room, if you feel like you are indispensable, you are. If the company is they have to make their bottom dollar, they will make cuts. And that's the thing about advertising. There are cuts. Anytime you lose a client, somebody's going. You just got to make sure it's not you. And so the way you do that is be curious, be humble, and be courageous.
Awesome. And in terms of becoming irreplaceable, we have around 2 minutes for each of you to say, why is it important for emerging marketers to be in those rooms with the CEOs and be working on these big projects? Why is it important for your perspective to be there?
Well, we should start with the ladies.
Okay, I'll start. We'll reverse it the other way for the last question. I think it's important because we all have such different perspectives from an identity position. I mean, I've been brought into rooms simply for like, does Gen Z talk this way? We have a campaign for teens. You're about like the youngest we can get. Like, is this being said on your TikTok? And those are always fun because I'm like, hey, I'm just here to like be a fly on the wall. I'm like almost like a consultant in a very fun, silly way of like, nobody's saying swag anymore. Like, let's replace that. But beyond that, I think being a Black woman makes me an interesting perspective to have in the room, an important perspective to have in the room. But even getting beyond identity and kind of how we show up in that way, we're all a part of different niche groups. And now I feel like the name of the game is like getting tight on who you're trying to speak to. And if you're a part of that group, like speak up. Or if you find out another account is a part of said niche that they're trying to target, speak up. Like, I love reality TV, yoga, and cooking. Anytime someone says that, I'm like, hey, I would love to sit on this project or be a part of this project. And it has done wonders for me. And I think there's only so much money for research and qual and all of the things. So anytime you can use your team members is a huge win. And so, yeah, being courageous and just saying, I would love to help with that, has done a lot of wonders for me. And, gotten me in some rooms that are like way ahead of probably where I should be or where I would expect myself to be. But it's really worked out. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I know we just met, but this was so perfect because I was going to say emerging marketers are unapologetically themselves, authentic, just like you shared those tidbits of your personality. We now have 100 things that we can talk about. And that's why I think emerging marketers are so important to the table. We're growing up in an age and bringing perspectives that are so authentic and unapologetic that you really get an unfiltered view of your audience of upcoming segments. So my approach has been, and I've developed this reputation to be the yes and girl. So every time we're having a brainstorm or a conversation, I'm agreeing for good reason, backed by data, backed by strategy, and building on it. So I think coming to the table with those those opportunities for collaboration, for building on each other versus being the note taker, being the person that is just the fly on the wall, what can you add? And I do believe that emerging marketers are adding to the vision, are great collaborators because we're in this really creative, innovative, technological advanced age. So why not bring us in and be part of that conversation?
And piggybacking off of you, I think we're also like excited genuinely to be in the room, but not just to be in the room, but to collaborate with everybody else in the room as well. Like I can learn something from the CEO, but then I can also learn something from my colleague who is my direct peer. And so I think that it's important for us to be in the room because we don't know everything, but we know enough and we know something and we just want to share it. So I'll give you this example. My little sister, who is 21 years old, she taught me something. She taught me that the new Karen, Karen has a new name. Karen's new name is Jessica. Did y'all know that? Okay. So we have this thing at my job called the For You feed. It's in one of our Slack channels. And basically in the For You feed, every Monday and every Thursday, we send out to the whole entire agency all of the latest things happening. All of the trends, all of the social things that have happened, the award shows to watch this week. I don't know if any of y'all are Traders fans, but I'm very excited about the finale coming up. And so, yeah, we just send all of those things. And one of the things, so they send out everyone sends out their ideas, and I'm like, something's missing. And they're like, what's missing? And I'm like, y'all don't know who Jessica is? And so that's what I feel like we get to bring to the table. We get to bring that, you don't know this, but I want you to know it type of thing. And yeah.
We know enough to be dangerous, is what we say.
Well, on that note, thank you guys so much for coming. I'm honored to be in the room with all three of you and to learn from all of what you just said.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.